Hi guys, part 4, if you're stuck with it this far, we're getting a bit closer towards the end, I think. I've just been setting this piece of bar up, the 3/4 5/8. I think in the last video I said 5/16. Correction, 3/4 5/8. The width is just shy of the max for the T-slots. So we're good for that. This end is raw. I haven't tidied that up yet, it doesn't really matter. And I got pretty good truth here. And this way we're about half a thou set up now, half a thou tolerance. This way I think that might just about be a thou, but of course this is really not very critical because I shall make the T-nut profile sufficiently undersized so that they're an easy fit. The biggest problem really is, well, I don't know, problem, I hope not. I've only got, I'll just show you one of the ordinary T-nuts. And let me just check. Now that you won't see because it's off camera, but I've only got an inch to play with at the end of the T-slots. So down here, that's an inch. So these extended length, well, I'm calling them extended length, in fact they're not really. I'm going to have to squeeze in 2 tapped holes. That's going to be quite tricky, I think, but I think it'll work out. It'll have to. Well, I just set up the edge finder and we've got that settled in, so I must do the math and work out where we're going to do the first cut on there. I've got a roughing, half-inch roughing mill, which I think hopefully will do the whole thing. Absolute finish isn't too critical. Right, so we're still experimenting a bit on this machine. I'm set up here, I'm running at about 750 on the half-inch roughing mill. Incidentally, I've got parallels under here to get the height right. I'm just putting some oil across the top. Let's see what that's like. I wanted to get some oil on there because I'm taking a fairly heavy cut. Well, for me I think it's a fairly heavy cut. And although I'm only using the roughing end mill, I'm not going to bother with a finishing cut. I think this is going to probably be enough. And I'm going to advance this now and get the other side done, and I'll go the other way. As I say, I'm still getting used to this machine. He says there's an element of experiment all the time. I've focused in on the dial gauge here, so I'm going to come in the 500 which should be my cutter. And then we want 485. So I'm looking for 985 on here. We'll go with that. Don't worry about the odd half thou. And lock up the X. And then I'll do a visual check. I've got a scribe mark on here. I'll just do a visual check on that. Okay, I hope the video caught most of that. I'm probably at a bit of a high angle. Let's clean up a little bit. Let's see if we got focus on this. Seem to have. Yeah, I don't see much point in using another mill to finish it off. I just took a all at once cut, and I wasn't sure whether I could cope with that depth, so I'm still playing around. So the next job is to cut this up into pieces, which will be probably about 950, 960, just under the inch, so I can get into the T-slots, and then the holes are going to be very crowded together, so I'll have to see what we can work out on that. Alright, we've got that piece cleaned up a bit. Now we just got to get 6 cuts off. The last one may be a little bit tricky, I suspect, and this bandsaw blade's got a bit of a funny jump in it on the way round, but it's still working, so we'll get this underway. Okay, there's one. So we just got another 5 to go. Okay, won't bore you with that lot. I had to cheat a bit for this last one. Had to use a previous cut and a couple of pieces of aluminum here and the stop at the back. Hopefully that's firm enough to hold that. I think we'll manage probably. I think that probably went just a little bit off square, but we'll true it up in the lathe. No big deal. Alright, we're just going to do a clean up on the ends of these, just to tidy them up a little bit. Can't really see how much they need. Awkward to put a bit of extra light on. Oh yeah, that needs a little more. These should finish up about 950 or thereabouts. Very hard to see here. One more pass. Any small cuts. Okay, that should do for that side. So all I'm going to do is the same the other end, and then do the other 5, and then we can mark them up for drilling. So we've got 6 T-nuts here. It's actually a 7th. I faced off the offcut from that piece of bar, but I probably made them a tiny bit short, although they go into the end of the T-slots nice and easily. But the bandsaw isn't cutting quite square, so by the time I'd machined each end, I'd lost a little bit more. They come out just under 950. And 1 or 2 actually. I'm trying to find one here. There's one. You can see I didn't finish facing it. There's a little bit just down, no, up here. Just a little bit up there if it's visible. And I didn't think it was worth messing around. Now it's coming a bit closer. Now let's see which one's showing. Oh, there we are, that one's I've zoomed in a bit far, I think. So what I'm doing here, and this is, I'm really running very tight on available space, because I can't make the T-nut significantly longer. And the other annoying thing actually is I'm going to have to use a different thread for the locking set screw compared with the metric for the button. I'm trying to see the center hole there. These are going to be absolutely side by side, very tight, but there's enough meat underneath the button just, and once the grub screw is locked up, we should be able to concentrate then on setting up the button. The reason I got these set screws was I couldn't get the length I wanted for others, and I shall actually, on the end here, these are cup enders against cone point, but I'm going to just grind those ends very slightly just to smooth them off a bit so they don't chew into the, well, they're probably going to lose the paint on the bottom of the T-slots, but it'll give a larger surface area. So the plan here is, I was going to do these in the milling machine. I don't think there's a lot of point. I've got them all marked up and centre popped, and I'm equispacing here for convenience. Because I got to change so many things around, I'm going to go through one sequence of centre drilling, then a second set with one tapping drill, and then another session with another tapping drill. So I'm going to get on with that. I'll show you just on one of them, but there's not much to see that's very exciting. That's the first one. I'll just carry on and get the others done. I'm just part way through the first of the metric tapping drill. Nearly through. I won't keep this running whilst I'm doing that. It takes quite a while and gets tedious. So I'll do another 5 with that drill, then we'll swap round and do the other holes. Alright, number 6 of the second set of tapping holes. Bit of a long job actually. I decided to put pilot holes in this one. It's basically quicker. Alrighty, that's that. Now I'm just going to go through all of them and put a bit of slight countersink chamfer on top prior to tapping. As far as tapping goes, my main concern is getting a start. So this is the homemade tool that I have. I made it a long time ago, and I just reckon that the chuck will just about hold enough to give me probably about 2 turns, maybe more if I'm lucky. It's a bit tedious, but it means when I come back to the hole that I haven't got to worry about being square. This sets it up for me. You might notice incidentally my angel eyes, which are out of picture, they're not doing so much now, so I've got a side light. I think that's probably just about getting to the limit. So that's that one started. All very tedious. And I should do the same on the other thread, which is 5/16 by 18. Just a slightly wider view of this tap starter. I was using the chuck before. I didn't know whether the chuck would hold the tap for long enough, but in fact I've got a fairly good grip on it, so I should be able to probably get 2.5, 3 turns. In essence, it's a case of going on till the tap slips in the chuck. So that's got about 4, which is enough. As I say, it's just a case of when I finish them by hand later of having everything nice and square. So we'll do that one and the other threads. Whoa, God, that was a long job. Drilling and tapping these, slightly more tedious because each of these threads is different, but as I say, I couldn't get the metric set screws of the length I wanted. So I got these 5/8 length 5/16 by 18. So there are all the bits. The top and bottom surface of these is native material, so there's no machining. I've cleaned them up a little bit, and I think I said earlier on some of these, that wasn't one of them, 1 or 2 I stopped slightly shy of finishing the facing because I didn't want to lose more length. They're all very close to each other, which of course isn't critical anyway. So I'm going to put these together and offer them up to the mill. See if I can find something to clamp. Alright, we're at the end of the project basically. I'll leave the light up where it is. I think there's enough light on there, yes. I'm just trying on this piece of bar. It's a pity the buttons aren't a bit thinner. So this, basically, what is it? I don't even know whether I checked the size of it. It's a piece of 5/8 bar. But the thing is, apart from pieces that are very thin, which will always be a problem, I think, I like the idea of these for either just a piece as simple as that, or more likely something which is an awkward shape. Not necessarily very thin, but an awkward shape which you have to deal with the whole surface. Now, setting these up, first time I've tried them, and I haven't got anything on hand that I want to machine as yet, so we'll probably try them out properly another time. This is pretty, I haven't got my hammer. It's pretty firm. The setup procedure seems to be, let me just come in close a minute and get a bit more detail. You might just see the offset on 1 or 2 of these heads. I'm not sure. There is the thin side, there's the fat side, shall we call it, and on this one, no, you can't see that one very much. So yes, this is the example. So what I did was, with the holding set screw undone and the cap screw with the thinnest side facing the work, and clamped that up, and then brought the other one up. In fact, we can rotate just a smidgen there, I think. So, and bring the second one up, the opposite side. Same procedure. Thin side of the cap screw towards the work. Push the T-nut up, lock it up, and then, depending on how critical the lateral is, bring up the tension. These are both pretty tight. In fact, this one's got a little bit more to go. So with that 30 thou offset, which isn't much, I think it locks up better for that, but it means you've got to be very close when you're setting up first, before you actually tighten your T-nuts. And same again here and here. So that basically is it. I'll try and do a demo sometime. Time and materials don't permit at the moment. I'll probably find something that's an awkward shape that might put it to good use where we want to take a surface cut. But anyway, that basically is the project finished, and overall I'm quite pleased with it. An interesting set of problems making it, although the parts are so small, it actually doesn't look much now, does it? Just 6 bits of brass and some T-nuts, etc. Anyway, the principle works. That's the point. If I just thought, if I uncam each of these, we should find, there we are, the workpiece comes out. And put it back in. Didn't think of doing that, just as a demo. You've got to split the difference between the two, obviously. You want to take each one up to, I suppose, 20 degrees of its max, so that each side you can actually achieve the max. There we are, that's tight again. And that's pretty secure. How well it'll cope with machining is yet to be found out, but the project in itself was certainly interesting. I hope now when I get some cam rollers we can do a modification on my fixed steady fingers. That's something else in the pipeline. I dare say other things may crop up. And with luck in another week or two we'll actually have it a bit warmer. So if you followed through to this stage, as I often say, thanks for your patience, and thanks too for the people who have been subscribing, greatly appreciated. And for now anyway, thanks for watching.